Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real IAI Podcast. I'm your host, Jan LeMay. We're recording this podcast on July 13th, and early registration for the conference is July 31st. So if you plan on going to the conference in Reno, which is August 11th through the 17th, try to register before that July 31st deadline to save a little money. But if it's a last minute thing, if you can't register before then, you can come to the conference and register the day of. We would love to see you there. My guest host on this episode is Dr. Alicia McCarthy. She's a professor at Thomas College in Maine. She's a forensic science consultant, a trainer, a former forensic scientist at the Maine State Crime Lab. She's also a past president of the New England Division, and she's currently a member of the IAI Board of Directors. Alicia, thanks for co-hosting with me.
Thanks for having me, Jan.
Yeah, my pleasure. Are you excited about the conference in Reno?
I can't wait. Yeah, I'm really excited. We had our conference there 5 years ago where I was elected onto the board of the IAI, so I'm excited to go back and see Reno again.
Yeah, and I love the venue. It was a nice venue, nice hotel rooms, nice meeting space. It was spacious and roomy and comfortable, and nice shops and restaurants and a casino, of course, where I lost all of my per diem money at the poker table. But that's an issue for another podcast.
I have fond memories of the swimming pool and hanging out with some of our pals.
Oh, yeah, the pool was great, too. So, yeah, it's a great venue. It'll be a great conference, and it's shaping up to be one of our biggest ever, so I'm really excited.
Yeah, I heard more than 1,000 people have already registered. So, yeah, as you said, if you want to get the early discount, go ahead and do that before the end of the month.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one for sure. Now, speaking of conferences, the New England Division has a conference coming up, don't they?
We do. We have a conference every year. Our educational conference normally runs for 3 days, and this year it's on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of October in Newport, Rhode Island. And how we do it in New England is depending on which state holds the presidency. So our president is from Rhode Island this year. The conference will be in their state. So it moves around. It can be in Maine and Massachusetts and New Hampshire, moves around as we go. So it's in Newport, Rhode Island, which is known for its beautiful historic buildings and very fancy fine dining and restaurants and really nice food. From an educational perspective, it looks good too. There's still some slots if you wanted to be a speaker. And they're looking for some vendors. A good place to go would be nedii.org to their website to have a look. And they have just opened registration too. It's $300 for the 3 days, including all the functions and receptions for members, and $375 for non-members as early bird registration. That's what the cost is at the moment.
Oh, it sounds great. And I love the idea of moving it around to different states, different venues, and keeping it interesting and exciting for the membership. So.
It's nice, yeah, and it means our local people, because we're quite spread out. If you can imagine northern Maine to get down to Rhode Island is quite a hike. So by moving our conference round to the state where the president is, it means more local people to that state can get there. And some people come and stay in the hotels, and some people will be commuters. So it makes it a lot more affordable, the fact that we can move around.
Yeah, absolutely. Great idea. Now, I didn't mention in your introduction, you are co-chair of the Student Advocacy Committee.
Yes.
Explain to us what that committee does, what its role is.
In preparation for the podcast today, I was trying to remember how long I've been on it. I think maybe 12 years.
Oh, wow.
It's changed over time. It's originally the Student Advocacy Committee was to attract students to our conference, to make them feel comfortable. We saw that we had a lack of students. Over probably the past 6 or 7 years, we have a good cohort of students that come to our conference. They seem very relaxed and well adjusted. So the students are different now than they would have been 12 years ago. The committee is there to support them, listen to student voices. We survey them after the conference to see what their feedback was. And one of the feedbacks we got last year, because we've traditionally done a Thursday student track, so it would be all day Thursday with different how to get a killer internship, how to ace your CV, how to make small talk in the elevator with a professional, those types of networking that students need some hand-holding, a little bit of assistance with. But the feedback last year was the students now are more comfortable mingling with us as professionals, and they were going to some of the professional presentations, which of course they are. Some of the presentations we have at the IAI conference can be very engaging and very attractive. So this year, instead of doing a whole track, we have some student lectures and presentations peppered throughout the conference, not all in one day. So students can go to that keynote speaker, go to the workshop that they're really interested in. So we'll see how that goes this year, and we'll get feedback from the students.
That's great. And, the conference is so huge, 1,300, 1,400 attendees and hundreds of lectures and workshops and vendors. So it can be a bit overwhelming for that first timer or for a student. So having that advocacy committee to help guide them through that experience is a great idea.
It is really, really good. Some of us on the committee are full-time professors. Some of them are full-time professionals, and some people do both. They're adjuncting and working professionally as well. We are also responsible for evaluating and grading the student poster presentations too. So students who are interested can present. It's a really nice way for students to get their toes wet and present at a professional conference. They can then add that presentation and publication to their resume or their curriculum vitae. So my committee, we do that as well. We evaluate the posters, and we get to select who gets the prize each year, which is fun.
Oh, that's beautiful. Now, if a student who is attending the conference wants to connect with the committee, is there a meeting that they can attend to get connected?
There may be, and we can roll that out as we get closer. I will have access to an email list of all the students who register, so I'll probably roll out an email, let them know who I am. I often, myself and my colleagues will have meet in a lobby for coffee and just to chat with them, so they have a friendly face that they know of. Because we're not doing the formal track this year, that'll be a little bit different. But I will certainly reach out to the students to let them know who we are.
Okay, so your committee reaches out to the students. They don't have to track you down.
That's correct.
That's great.
Correct. Yeah.
Great idea. Now, you do have really broad experience as a forensic scientist and as an educator, so I can't think of a better person to ask this question. If a student wants to pursue a career in forensics, what should they be studying?
There's no easy answer to that one. What I would guide students on, if you want to work in a crime lab, you probably need a hard science degree. My undergrad was in chemistry and statistics, and it got me into the lab. A lot of labs require science degrees, and that could be pre-med, it could be chemistry, it could be environmental science, those types of degrees that it will incorporate a lot of biology, chemistry, organic chemistry. If you're not that type of student, that you're interested in forensics, but maybe not so much core sciences, some students will go on and do criminal justice classes with concentrations in forensics, and there are paths to positions there that might lead them into evidence technician positions, crime scene investigator kind of positions. One way to kind of figure out what apart from talking to me at the conference and my colleagues, would be to have a look at the iai.org, our parent website, and then there is a job opportunities there, and go in and have a look. It'll be very, very clear on what kind of educational background is necessary for that particular job. Great if somebody wants to be a DNA examiner, there's a particular requirements by the FBI if you're going to use the DNA database CODIS. So there's specific there. They go down to say how many credits you need in microbiology and some specific biology courses. So feel free to reach out. My contact details is on the IAI website, and also the job postings, and click in and have a look. Whether that's on the IAI or Indeed.com, they'll tell you what kind of educational background is necessary for the roles that you're interested in.
That's great. So there isn't just one educational track that they can jump on and pursue. There's a variety of ways to go.
There are, because there's a variety of jobs. There's a variety of jobs. In the past, a lot of the jobs in the medical examiner's office were medical examiners that needed to go to college for 12 and 15 years. Because they're having challenges across the country getting medical examiners, they will often have one and have a lot of medical examiner technicians, and those are civilian jobs mostly, and they've opened up too. So that's another path that some students don't think about.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, listen, we have a guest waiting for us in the green room. Should we bring him in?
I think we should.
Okay, great. Our guest is a past president of the IAI. We're honored to have him. He's currently the chair of a committee with a very long name. It's the Johnson and White Memorial Foundation Fund Advisory Committee, and his name is Steve Johnson. Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here. It's always good to see both of you.
Thank you. Now, you might notice over my shoulder here, there's a plaque that you had made and gave as a gift to IAI board members and officers when you were president a few years ago.
Yes.
And
correct.
For those who don't know, this is an image of Harry Caldwell. He's the founder of the IAI. He founded the organization back in 1915. And Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you at that first conference in 1915?
Yeah, actually, Harry Caldwell was my paper boy before that. So, yeah, Harry and I, we go way back.
Yeah, I was at that first conference also. That was the first time I lost all my per diem at the poker table. So
yeah, it wasn't legal then either. So
right.
I don't know what the statute of limitation is, Dan, but you might want to be careful.
Well, sooner or later, they'll stop sending me to conferences.
Steve, I was going to ask you, who are Johnson and White and why did they set up a memorial fund?
Sure. So Robert L. Johnson was the second vice president of the IAI in 1988, on the path to become president of the IAI for the 89-90 conference. And he suffered a massive aneurysm and passed away in March of that year, totally unexpected, and it's a real shock to the organization. His wife really was strongly advocating for providing some kind of revenue for students who might want any kind of scholarship assistance. They were very big on academics, and especially forensics academics. So they set up this Robert Johnson Fund in 1998 at the conference that year. And that continued for an academic scholarship only into the 1990s. William White worked for the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. He was on the board of directors of the IAI in the 90s, and unfortunately actually passed away at the conference in 1998. He suffered a heart attack at the conference, and it was a real shock, not surprisingly, to the organization. Being that he was from another country, it's hard to think of Canada as another country. I just think of him as a neighbor. But that being said, the organization and his widow decided to donate money to a fund that would provide assistance to international members that were not a part of the host country to attend, provide some kind of assistance to get them to the conference. That was in 1998. And those two funds acted independently for 10 years. And then it was decided in 2008 to merge the two funds, still offering scholarships for academics and for international members, what we call vocational scholarships, from that point forward.
So who benefits from the scholarships and the vocational scholarships, Steve?
So as I stated, the academic scholarships are open to any student in the in the graduate or undergraduate level of education that's pursuing a degree in the forensic sciences. There are currently no restrictions on what particular forensic discipline you're pursuing. We are a pretty big tent as it is as an organization. We represent a number of disciplines, but we have applications from forensic chemists and medical examiner candidates and things like that are a little outside the scope of our organization, but we certainly do not preclude them from applying. On the vocational front, again, that's open to any international member that would like to attend the conference and can apply for some funding that will support the conference when they are likely to attend. We encourage those that do apply as international members to have already applied with an abstract, so that gives us a good reason to provide them the source funding. Knowing that they're coming and presenting, not just attending, is certainly a factor that will contribute to who gets a scholarship on that level.
And where do they go to apply for the scholarships?
So if you'll go, as Alicia mentioned earlier, theiai.org is our website, and under the About Us tab is a Johnson & White link. And if you go to that link, it will show you the contribution levels, the how to donate, and where the application forms are for both the academic and the vocational scholarships.
Okay. And where does the money for the fund come from?
So that's a good question. Beyond what was contributed originally by the two widows of the deceased, Mr. Johnson and Mr. White, we have solicited funding through our members, through corporations, through annual donations. We have a number of levels for people that are interested in donating. So we try to recognize the people that have contributed significantly over the years. There are a number of levels for individuals starting at $500. This is cumulative. You don't have to donate you can donate $5 a month forever until you get to $500. We don't care how little you offer. That's the first thing I want to emphasize. But at the $500 level, you're considered a fellow. At the $1,000 level, that's considered a ruby level. 1,500 is diamond. 2,000 is trustee. When you get to $5,000, you're considered a board of directors fellow. At $10,000, it's a president's foundation fellow. And if you get to the $20,000 level, it's a foundation's fellow scholarship. And you get recognized with pins and plaques. As of right now, we have 69 individuals that have reached some level of fellowship. Over half of them are at the fellow level, so at the lowest level, but that in and of itself is impressive. And we have 6 organizational fellows that have contributed over $20,000.
Wow.
So that's our primary source of funding. We've also done in the past fundraisers, raffles, anything we can do to try and drive up the fund, because it's important to know, and I don't know if you're going to ask this question, Jan, so if I steal your thunder, feel free to poke me in the eye, but
go ahead.
It's important to let the people know that the fund has to be self-sustaining. In other words, we created a fund that had to reach a level that we would only be using the interest earned over the course of the previous year to provide these resources for the academic and vocational scholarships.
So the money isn't going to dry up and go away?
No, it's into perpetuity. So the biggest challenge we faced in the almost 40 years since both funds started is getting that fund to a level where it was sustainable. And it was very frustrating for those of us that have served on this committee, because you don't have a lot of revenue coming in from interest. There's not a lot of revenue we can generate for the academic and vocational scholarships. We're starting to turn the corner on that. We're starting to see some more increases in the interest rate and in the value of the interest that's earned. So we're excited about the opportunity to provide more support for vocational and academic scholarships.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I like how they've made it easier over the years to donate. Like when you're renewing your membership online and registering for the conference, it pops up. So it kind of reminds you. So if you haven't donated before, those are good reminders and opportunities.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Alicia. That's something we did a couple of years back to try to keep the membership aware of what's going on with Johnson & White, their investment in the process. And ultimately, as Alicia alluded earlier, when you guys are talking about the students, we want to get the students involved in our organization. We're hopeful by giving to them and them benefiting from some scholarship funding from us, they'll see the value of our organization, and then it perpetuates itself. They become members, they encourage students to get involved, and the self-licking ice cream cone, as we call it, becomes a factor.
Well, that sounds much better than blowing my money at the poker table.
Yes, I would encourage you to save your money and your chips and donate them to the Johnson White Memorial
The house
Foundation.
always wins.
Yes, indeed. So, no, I'm really excited about this year. We are looking to, I think we'll be awarding a record number of scholarships and a record amount of scholarships. And we're also, this year, for the first time, this is important from the vocational perspective. Normally, we would just give the international members free registration, which is not a bad sum. It's getting more and more expensive to attend conferences.
Yeah.
So that's a significant amount of money. But because of the funding and the fact that it's becoming more sound, we're able to afford them 5 nights of lodging and registration. So that is a huge amount. And that keeps it fair. So no matter where they're coming from, they know they're going to get lodging and registration coverage. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, great benefit. So how many people do you think benefit from these scholarships every year?
Wow. It varies. We've had as few as, in my time as chair and a member of the committee, we've had as few as 7 academic scholarship applications. Last year we had over 30, which was the most we've ever had. This year we have 20, and they're all very highly qualified. And what we do as a committee is we review their applications, take a look at all these factors that contribute to our decision-making process, like what is their major, what is their activity outside of school, what is their grade point average, things like that. And then we have a scoring rubric that we determine a ranking scale, and we rank them 1 through however many apply. So that process is ongoing right now as I speak. We have to get this information to the Long Range Planning Committee, which I believe you're a member of, Jan. And that committee makes the decision on who is awarded the scholarships and how much. We make them aware of how much money is available for that process, but it's the LRPC's decision.
But a lot of people benefit from this program. Sounds
over the years, hundreds for sure.
That's amazing. Well, it's great to see how the IAI is promoting the next generation of forensic scientists.
We have to do that. And Alicia has been amazing. I didn't know you'd been involved for 12 years, Alicia, as a student advocate, but that's fabulous. And I can't think of anybody better to do that, frankly.
It's important. It's a difficult career to get into. It's quite competitive. Students need connections and mentors. So any students that do attend our conference this year, and even if you can't, feel free to reach out. Most of us have the heart of a teacher, and we like to mentor students, whether that's, encouraging. The past couple of students I've done mock interviews for got their jobs. One of the students was a past student of mine, and one was a person I didn't really know at all. So we're available as the board and past presidents of the II. We're willing to help students, get their foot in the door and get that first job.
That's outstanding. Either of you have anything else to add?
Come to the conference. Still time, as Jan alluded at the beginning of the call. I think there's still plenty of time to join us in Reno. It's a great venue. It's also has been discussed. I'm really looking forward to seeing everybody there, and some new faces, some old faces. So that's the only thing I can offer is that, and contribute to the Johnson White Foundation Fund.
Great.
Opportunity.
I'd just like to remind our members and students that if you can't make it to the Reno conference, 'cause it's maybe too far, too expensive, make sure you look out for your local division. Most of the states, if they're not by themselves, there could be a conglomerate of states together. There's local divisions out there too that have local conferences that are more affordable, and maybe you can drive to. So don't forget about the local divisions as well.
Very good point.
Yeah, and then you get to meet and network with professionals in your area where you might be looking for jobs. So it's a great way to meet people and make connections. Yep. Well, listen, thank you both so much for joining us on the podcast. Our next episode is going to be after the Reno conference, and we'll recap the events of the conference. If you have questions or suggestions for the podcast, you can write those into the Real IAI Podcast at theiai.org. If you're a vendor and you'd like to sponsor an episode of the podcast, you can also write to us at the Real IAI Podcast at theiai.org, and we'll share with you how we can help you promote your products and your services. Our producer extraordinaire is Steve Yoder. I'm your host, Jan LeMay. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. And until next time, everyone, take care of each other. Bye.
Take care. Bye.